My name is Rick White, and I'm the lead pastor at CityView Church in Fort Worth, Texas. We planted about 3.5 years ago, and we are a church plant out of the Village Church. Wasn't the plan, but God in His sovereignty saw fit to make it that way. I don't mean to be vague, but the struggles I had were, I would rather classify them as categories of struggle. One of them had to do with relationship, and the other had to do with internal expectations I had. In relationship, they always say something's going to occur or someone's going to disappoint you. Early on, one of my best friends who planted the church with us, some things came out about his life in previous years that had to do with some specific sins, and not more than 9 months into our church plant, dealing with things I never thought I'd be dealing with in leadership. I thought I'd be dealing with them in our people, but not in our leadership, not with the one of the three guys that I planted with. The interesting thing about that is I probably didn't realize at the time, but I went into probably a little more of a protectionist mode for my own soul, because I'd known him for 12 years. And so it was really, I think it was more hard on me. We lost one family through that whole thing. Now, we didn't grow. Our growing ceased at that point. And I'm convinced it's because of me and just the period where I just kind of backed up. And really during that period I realized that I'm not as immune as I think, that I can be the greatest hindrance to living the gospel's great commission for our church, which is a very humbling experience. While yes, I was grieving, at the same time I probably responded in some ways that I probably use as a convenient excuse this grieving to not as aggressively continue to lead my church. The other struggle that I had, which had to do more with internal expectations regarding the church, which was really interesting for me, was I had never failed in anything. In fact, most things I'd been involved with had grown pretty quick and pretty fast. That's the same thing. Everything had grown fairly quick early on. And this was the first thing I'd ever been involved with that didn't just take off from day one. And I remember that first summer, especially after launching an Easter and thinking, what is going on? It just, went way low for the summer. I thought, this is brutal. And then the next summer happened again. And an interesting thing happened. By the third summer, we actually grew during the summer, and pretty well. And I think it was during that period where I finally was able to look back on that period in retrospect and realize, man, God takes seriously the role of a lead guy. And He doesn't just let you have success you're used to. In fact, He's probably breaking down multiple idols, one of which has to do with entitlement that's rooted in, that you didn't realize had rooted in. And I think a lot of guys go through this because most of our guys have succeeded at everything they've done, and all of a sudden you don't. It's almost like God opens up a floodgate and allows the enemy to press on you. And because he's confident in you, but at the same time, you will be tested. You will be tested because you're going to have to lead a church and lead other leaders. And not just a church, but a church that multiplies other churches. And that's a huge responsibility, and I don't think that God for a second allows us to take that lightly. And so it was very humbling, just very humbling for me. I had a vision for the type of person I would reach and the group of people and the demographic I would reach. I mean, we all say, oh, I don't have a specific demographic, but we do. I mean, we have one that we think we would like to reach, that we're interested in. And the funny thing about it is the church that formed was nothing like what I thought it would look like. And again, there came a point where you could keep pursuing this picture of this church that really doesn't exist, or you can be a pastor and a shepherd and love the people that God sends you. And that was hard, because I was wanting to baptize people left and right. We were continually sent people who had been Christians for less than a year or just over. And I was like, all right, so I guess this is our part. We're going to be kind of an incubator and a growth area for people who just barely got it in their soul. And that was both shattering to kind of the vision, which, again, something I'm talking about tomorrow, is how vision can be so idolatrous. A good thing, but it becomes idolatry because you attach other things to it that have nothing to do with the vision God gave you. And you begin to attach a certain type of person that has to do with the vision of the church that you're going to plant, and then that person doesn't, and if they don't come, you're shattered, you're disappointed. Well, you've attached something to the vision that God did not have attached. And so I'm just, by month 6, I'm blown away by who we've attracted. And what's so interesting, we moved in this building recently, and it's starting to look more like what I'd envisioned now, because now we're having a lot more of the rough, just got some really bad stuff going on in their lives. And that's where I really got into this for, to let the gospel come to bear on that stuff. But that wasn't the church that God sent me for the longest time. So there's a real telling part for my character. Am I going to shepherd and love people regardless of what I think it should look like?